me out, you buswag.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pete and his bus. Now, contrary to popular belief, I am not some guy that just hangs out in his shed, makes a few videos about Route Masters, earns billions, and then just sits back and hangs out with his motorbike. No. My actual day-to-day life is a lot more realistic, and it involves the bus behind us. I still very much rely on this bus, which is converted to a bar, RML 2355, to do events in the summer and earn an actual living. So I still run a Route Master commercially. Now, this video is going to demonstrate why I sometimes have a bit of anxiety or the fear inside that this thing is not going to be reliable. Because when shit hits the fan, which it does in this video, you can see what a total nightmare it is and how very, very quickly it becomes insanely expensive. But before we delve into the week from hell, we are going to look at something a little bit more upbeat, which is 1009, and that did the East Grinstead vintage bus run a couple of weeks ago, and this is how we got on. So Richard and I have swapped. He is going to be doing the driving today for the first time, and I'm going to be on the back platform hanging out with you guys. There he is.
John, we're going to go on the bottom. Come on the bottom.
How are we doing for space upstairs? Yeah, Johnny, I'm right here. How are we doing for space? Yeah, plenty of room. Keep going. Guys, we go upstairs or downstairs? How are you? You alright? See them banners on the side, mate? They are lovely. Hello, Colin. Yeah, still space upstairs, plenty of room all day.
Can they have a photo?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Right. Hello, hello.
So you're seeing it?
No, well, no much.
No, you're right.
Ready?
Want to get in the photo?
Got it?
Yeah.
All right, here you go, upstairs.
Hey, Pete.
Yes, all right, take that. Richard and I would like to thank all of you that came and saw us. We had a fantastic day, and just before any of you ask, yes, RM1009 did make it all the way back to the barn. A massive well done to RM1009. That is how these events should go. Unlike last year, bit different. Now, a lot of you often invite me to do different vintage bus rallies across the country. I always have to decline. It's not the fact that I don't want to do them, but the problem is with these events, they're often on really popular weekends. And of course, my event, Bus Bar and the Night Timber Bus are out on those weekends, so I often have clashes. The East Grinstead Vintage Bus Running Day, though, is very, very early on in the season. It is also literally around the corner from me, so that's why we are always able to do that one. And Richard and I have already agreed we're definitely doing next year. So if you want to come along, you feel like you've missed out, there is always next year. Now, let's get to another bus which didn't behave so well. To kick off the 2025 event season with RML 2355, we are heading to Penshurst Place for the Country Craft Fair they hold there every year. Now, providing the sun is out, this is always a really, really good one to get us going for the season. Even though the journey to Penshurst is about 30 minutes in the bus, 15 minutes into it, the dreaded coolant alarm starts going off. So I decide to pull up in a petrol station to have a look what's happening. And from here on out, things are going to go south very quickly. So obviously I tried filling it up and the water's just pouring straight out again, and what's happened is underneath there roughly is a core plug, and the actual core plug has come out the side of the engine, which is not great. Obviously, I don't know if you guys know what core plugs are. They're sort of metal discs that are pressed into the side of the engine. Should there be an overload of pressure or something, they blow out rather than the engine giving up. So, but the fact that that's gone is probably, I've spoken to Lord Barrington, it's probably due to age and corrosion rather than something happening to or causing it to actually blow out. But either way, it's not going anywhere under its own steam. So after 12 years of total reliability, barring a few blips here and there, I have to admit defeat and make the phone call for recovery. So, recovering a Routemaster bus, this is always a problem. And I'm not even talking about the financial implication of it, because it is always expensive no matter what you do. They have to be moved with extremely expensive trucks. These trucks are expensive to run on top of that, and the people that operate them are highly skilled and they charge accordingly. But the actual problem with towing Routemasters is that Routemasters do not like being towed. Their construction is a little bit different. First of all, the chassis is made up of 3 different sections. You start lifting them and tugging them in different ways. It puts strain on those joints and you can cause mega damage. Also, the rear platform is low and long, so if you lift the nose up, you're going to start grinding it out at the back. And the back of the bus is a crash structure, which is very light and delicate, so again, you can cause major damage. The other problem is, of course, they are extremely tall, 14.6 feet to be exact, and if you start raising them, you're even higher and more likely to hit stuff. Now, this all is the reason why I don't take part in some roadside recovery scheme, because what happens, you pay a set fee and they'll come and tow you, but you don't know who you're going to get on the day. And I'm not insulting general recovery drivers here, but with Routemasters, you want the right guy for the gig, and that is why I use Andrew Long. This man has been doing recovery for a very long time, and not only that, he also operates and maintains and builds his own trucks. So he has something which is called mechanical sympathy. He understands that he can only tow my bus at a certain speed so he doesn't blow the diff. He also understands that for longer journeys he has to take out both the half shaft to preserve the diff. He also understands the constructions of these buses, so he knows exactly how and where and how much to lift it by. And that is the most important bit, because you want your bus to arrive at its location looking exactly the same as it did when it was collected. And now for the next problem, because my day is just getting better. To get the bus into the Penshurst showground, I have to use the farm track around the back because the main gate is too low. But With the bus attached to a tow truck, there are a few twisty and tight corners on that farm track which we simply cannot make. So I am less than a mile from my showground location where I'm serving drinks all weekend, but I can't get to it. So I have a conversation with Lord Barrington himself. I have another conversation with Andrew, the recovery driver, and they both know these engines very well, and they both say the same thing. My engine is now fully cooled down. It's cold. It hasn't run for the last 4 or 5 hours. These engines hold a lot of oil, 20 litres to be exact. It takes about 20 minutes to half an hour to actually get these engines up to full temperature. So we all agree that I can take the risk and drive the bus on the farm track, which is a 4 to 5 minute journey without or with a limited amount of cooling in it. It feels really alien to do this, but everybody's agreed that it is slightly risky, but it's not going to grenade my engine. However counterintuitive it feels, I have no choice but to drive the bus through the farm with limited coolant in the engine and the most annoying alarm going off in my left ear. But what is good news is the fact that the engine actually feels and sounds really great. So at least I can take some comfort in the fact that mechanically everything is probably going to be okay. The saving grace of my week of bus headache is the fact that the Penshurst Craft Fair is actually great. And when the sun does come out, its visitors quite like a beverage or two, and that helps because we all know that it's going to be a very expensive week for Pete and his bus. And now the main man of the hour.
It's not, I'm afraid. No. Dig in.
So the bus started up perfectly this morning. Obviously it's nice and cold, and as I mentioned before, we've had a chat about driving it out the farm. The recovery truck doesn't fit in the farm. We've had a chat about it, and Andy assured me once again, he goes, these engines are so big, they take like half an hour to really get up to full temperature, so a 5-minute trip across the farm with all the alarms going off is not going to do it any damage. So I'm in position now, I'm waiting for Andy to turn up. We're going to hook it on the truck for the second time. We're going to take it to my new best friend Ian and hopefully get this thing fixed, because guess what? On Friday, she's off to Twickenham. So the bus is up on the ramps. They've put it on there straight away. I'm now going to leave it in the good hands of Ian, and hopefully they can figure out the fix, get it sorted, so I can make it to good old Twickenham. Fingers crossed. An entire day goes by and I get a few updates from Ian, but sadly not all of them are great.
Right, exhaust is snapped there. Hanging down there, Pete. As you can see, it's not even connected there. It's stuck on the chassis. Missing tailpipe.
So my instant response is to say, well, as you know, I've had all this trouble with my downpipe recently, and Ben the tree hugger fixed all that, so I'll give him a call. He can come in and he can start welding up this exhaust, because there is no way I can drive around with it like that. Ian then says, he goes, Pete, don't worry about it. The bus is on the ramp. I was about to build an exhaust system for a limousine. Why don't I just do it for you whilst it's here? And I just think to myself, what an absolute legend. Now, the next day, I get a few more updates, but it's taking time. Today is the day that the bus technically should be delivered to Twickenham, and I'm just not getting enough info, and it's kind of driving me mad. I could not sit and wait on the sofa any longer. It was actually driving me mad. So I've come to the garage, and I don't want to get in their way. I don't want to annoy them, but I just need to know what's going on because the client's waiting. Everybody's waiting for this thing to work. The original delivery time for the bus at Twickenham Stadium was 10 a.m. and when I get to the garage, it is 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and the bus still looks very much as if it's being worked on. And the reason is this. The original core plug they ordered was on paper the correct one, but it was 0.8mm too small, so didn't fit. They then ordered another from Cummins, and that one fit perfectly. But to actually fit this plug, they've had to remove a bunch of stuff out of the engine bay, like part of the steering, the starter motor, and a bunch of coolant lines. And the problem is with these old engines, when you start taking these lines apart, the fittings are so old, they usually don't go back together. So the boys in the garage have been flat out on this, but they've had to reseal the engine up 3 times to get it watertight.
Third time lucky, baby.
I then witnessed Ian create an entire exhaust system in the space of about half an hour. Whilst that's all going on, there is a lot of action happening at the front of the bus. But one thing I do notice that there is no more coolant leaking on the floor, and suddenly the motions are more towards putting stuff back in the engine bay. And believe it or not, at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the bus goes back down onto the floor.
Okay, here she goes. Everything sounds good. Fingers crossed. It's not leaking. Just gonna let it run up for a bit, and then we're gonna drive it out here.
I'm told to take the bus out for a quick test drive to see if she'll leak under load. Luckily she doesn't, and when I return they inspect the bus for a final time, and RML 2355 gets the all clear.
Ready boys, no naughty faces, yeah?
I cannot thank Redstone Fleetcare enough. Ian, Dino and Caden, you have properly saved the day. My journey to Twickenham starts off with me being full of confidence and happy that the bus is fully up and running again. But about 25 minutes into the journey, all all of this is thrown to the side, and I am back with a coolant alarm.
Right, good old beer coolers giving me water. We're going to top it up and we're going to carry on. The coolant lasts about for 15 minutes, and in traffic it seems to lose less, so we're just going to take it easy, keep topping it up, and we're going to get there. I don't care what it takes.
The next half an hour of travel seems to take an absolute age, and I make a further 3 stops to top up the coolant, which is running out of the engine rapidly. But despite all of this, I do eventually make it to Twickenham Stadium at 6 o'clock, and the poor guys there have begged to have the key to keep the gates open so I can drive into the event arena.
So sorry. I'm so sorry, mate. 12 years of 100% reliability, but today has been... We're here. Yeah. So got here really early today to catch up from last night, but I think it's all pretty much done. She's looking pretty good and ready to rock and roll. I did all the banners this morning. And of course, the little one, side banners, those ones, and we've even done the ones at the back.
So the bar's all set up. Remember, the bus doesn't need to move once it's here, so that's great. The sun is out, so the bar operators and all those guys are really, really happy. They're looking forward to a busy day. But of course, I've still got to drive this bus out, so I've now got to figure out why the bus is leaking again. And this is what I've figured out so far. When the core plug came out the side of the engine and I topped it up, the water was pouring straight back out again. Now, when I pour the water in, the bus holds it, but when I start running it, it pours out. So that means we're not dealing with the core plug issue anymore. It is probably, and I spoke to Ian about this, it's probably an old line that they took off and put back, and maybe it's split in the process, or it's maybe not quite tightened up enough. So hopefully it's an easy fix. Let's have a look.
So obviously really hard to tell whether it's worked. I'll know on the way home when it's under full load and getting warm, but I think I've fixed a problem.
It turns out that sunshine does promote the sale of beer, because the guys here at Twickenham have one of the best days on record. And now fingers crossed for the journey home. I'm gonna call that a week to forget. I've probably aged about 50 years in the last 7 days. Annoyingly, it makes a really good video because people are interested to see what happens when, you know, when hits the fan. Anyway, ironically, both events that the boss did finally make it to were a huge success. So, and ultimately that's what I'll remember, you know. It all went wrong, yes, but the events and the reason why I'm out there working my bus, both events were a massive success. So that is box ticked. I did have about 12 years of reliability, apart from a few blips here and there, and there was a small voluntary event which I did way back in the day when I had an issue with the bus, which it didn't turn up, but it wasn't really a commercial venture. So yeah, so nearly 12 years of complete reliability. So it is an amazing bus, and these things do every now and then just go, do you know what? Not in the mood. Today, I'm gonna spit out all my coolant. As for reasons why this core plug came out, well, it could be a number of things. Lord Barrington has said that the Cummins engine does do that. When it's older and there's a bit of corrosion, they start to weep a little bit and eventually they just pop out. Or it was very cold last winter, and because I've had a few coolant issues in the past, I've not always had the complete correct coolant in the engine. So it's really important to have, in this case, the pink coolant in the engine, because that stops corrosion and it stops ice forming in the engine, which of course expands and then pops your core plugs out. So there is a bit of maintenance to do on the bus. I'm going to swap all the coolant and drop it and make sure that everything's correct. I'm also, when the bus was towed, the half shaft's taken out, it was put back. It hasn't completely resealed, so it's leaking diff oil, so that's got to come back off. We're going to sort all that out, seal it up, and then I'm going to re-top the oil up in the diff. So there's a few bits that I've got to be done before the bus is fully up and running, but they are trivia, and I'll show them all on the next video. But now, guys, listen up. If you are involved in old vehicles, or if you just have one for fun and you run it every now and then, you need to start making note of the people that are going to save you when it all goes wrong. And they are as followed. The first one is Andrew Long. He is gonna, if you phone him, he's gonna turn up 24 hours a day. He's gonna turn up and he's gonna save you. And he's gonna do it with delicacy, accuracy, and your vehicle is going to get exactly where it needs to go in the same shape as it was when he picked it up. So he is your boy. And the next lot, of course, are Redstone Fleetcare. Within 2 days, they'd cleared their entire schedule and workshop. The bus was taken on board immediately. They worked on it for over 2 days straight, and they solved my problem. And they went above and beyond. I had no idea that my exhaust was in such an absolute state. And of course, that affects the downpipe issue which we had before. So again, amazing work. I cannot thank them enough. They put me back on the road. And yes, I had a small issue afterwards with the pipe, but that is exactly as I explained. You know, when you start moving all these things around, old stuff, it's brittle, it comes apart. The bus is now at home for a week and a half till the next event. So I'm gonna calm down, I'm gonna relax, and I'm gonna do a little bit of work on it to make sure she's all lovely and reliable. And then we're gonna hit the road again. I will not give up. 2355 is my hero, and she will be back out there doing events. Guys, thank you so much for watching and putting up with all my chit chat. And hopefully I'll see you next time on Pete and his bus.
What he's banging on about. I'd have fixed that shizzle right there and then. I'm a mechanic, innit?